How's it going, everyone? Austin Honecker here. I just wanted to come on here for a while and give him a review for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite from 2 nights ago, which was June 11th, 2021. I gotta say, it was awesome from start to finish. For the matches, match one, it was Christian Cage versus Angelico. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Christian Cage went over with the kill switch. Well, before the match, Matt Hardy and the Hybrid 2, which are Angelico and Jack Evans, were out in the ring, and Matt Hardy was on the microphone cutting a promo saying that Christian Cage has been jealous of him for years, um, and Angelico was going to kick his ass tonight, and Christian Cage wasn't going to make it out, wasn't going to be great shape financially and physically and mentally and everything. And Christian Cage came out before the match, which that was cool. And after the match, Jack Evans came in the ring and tried to attack Christian Cage, and Christian Cage beat the shit out of Jack Evans, punching him in the face and knocked him out of the ring. Then Matt Hardy attacked Christian Cage from behind with the twist of fate, and Angelico joined in on the attack and started stomping on Christian Cage, and Matt Hardy went to execute the leech on Christian Cage, but Jungle Boy came out, and Matt Hardy and Angelico retreated, and Matt Hardy, Angelico, and Jack Evans were on stage looking on, and Jungle Boy was tending to Christian Cage and everything, which that was cool. Match 2, it was the Death Triangle, which are Pac and Penta El Cerro Miedo and Eddie Kingston versus Brandon Cutler and the Young Bucks, which are Matt and Nick Jackson. That was a great match, but the ending to it, the Death Triangle and Eddie Kingston went over because Pac pinned Brandon Cutler with the back fist to the future from Eddie Kingston. Well, after the match, Matt and Nick Jackson came in the ring, and Nick Jackson attacked Eddie Kingston with a super kick, and Matt Jackson attacked Penta El Cerro Miedo with a super kick. And Pac rolled out of the ring, but the Good Brothers, which are Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, joined in on the attack. Well, Brandon Cutler was already knocked out as well, but the Good Brothers, which are Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, came out and joined in on beating the shit out of Eddie Kingston and Penta El Cerro Miedo, and Frankie Kazarian came out. Well, Penta El Cerro Miedo and Eddie Kingston beat the shit out of the Young Bucks, knocking them out of the ring, and Frankie Kazarian beat the shit out of Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, knocking them out of the ring, and Eddie Kingston instructed Frankie Kazarian to knock Brandon Cutler out of the ring too, so Frankie Kazarian knocked Brandon Cutler out of the ring as well. Well, Pac rolled back in the ring, and so Pac, Penta El Cerro Miedo, Frankie Kazarian, and Eddie Kingston were in the ring, and the Young Bucks and the Good Brothers were outside the ring looking on and everything, which that was cool. Match 3, it was Miro versus Evil Uno for the AEW TNT title. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Miro went over and retained the AEW TNT title with the game over. Match 4, it was Lance Archer versus Chandler Hopkins. That was a squash match, but the ending to it, Lance Archer went over with the blackout. Match 5, it was Nyla Rose versus Layla Hirsch. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Nyla Rose went over with a diving beast bomb. And match 6, which was the main event, it was Hangman Page and 10 versus Team Taz, which are Brian Cage and Powerhouse Hobbs. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Hangman Page and 10 went over because 10 pinned Powerhouse Hobbs with the buckshot lariat from Hangman Page. After the match, Hangman Page and 10 were celebrating, and the rest of the Dark Order, which are Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, John Silver, Alex Reynolds, 5, Colt Cabana, and -1 came out to celebrate. Well, Hangman Page and 10 were drinking beer, and so were John Silver, so were Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, John Silver, Alex Reynolds, and 5, but Colt Cabana and -1 were drinking a bottle of water, and they were all celebrating and everything, which that was cool. But besides the matches, the Pinnacle, which are MJF, Wardlow, Shawn Spears, Dax Harwood, Cash Wheeler, and Tully Blanchard, arrived at the Daily's place in a limo before the show and everything, which that was cool. Tony Schiavone interviewed Cody Rhodes. Well, Tony Schiavone introduced Cody Rhodes, Arn Anderson, and Brock Anderson, which is the son of Arn Anderson. Well, Cody Rhodes, Arn Anderson, and Brock Anderson came out, and Tony Schiavone was pretty much talking about how Cody Rhodes and Brock Anderson will take on the Factory, which are QT Marshall and Aaron Solo, next week, and everything. And Cody Rhodes was going on talking about how he was excited to be teaming with Brock Anderson in his AEW debut match and everything. And QT Marshall came out and started talking shit towards Cody Rhodes, saying how Brock Anderson is just going to be another stepping stone to the Nightmare family and everything. And QT Marshall was talking about how he wanted to fight Cody Rhodes on July 7th on AEW Dynamite in Miami, Florida, and everything. And Cody Rhodes was talking about how, before QT Marshall came out, Cody Rhodes was also talking about how Anthony Ogogo knocked him out, and QT Marshall got the pin on him in their tag team match when it was Cody Rhodes and Lee Johnson versus QT Marshall and Anthony Ogogo last week on AEW Dynamite and everything. Well, when QT Marshall came out and interrupted the interview, QT Marshall was talking shit about how Anthony Ogogo didn't beat Cody Rhodes. He beat Cody Rhodes, and QT Marshall was also talking shit about Brock Anderson and everything. And then QT Marshall was wanting to face Cody Rhodes on AEW Dynamite on July 7th in Miami, Florida, and everything. And Cody Rhodes was saying, "You want a strap match? Well, how about we have a strap match now?" So Cody Rhodes took off his belt. Then QT Marshall got out of the ring, took his belt off, and Cody Rhodes, Arn Anderson, and Brock Anderson were still in the ring along with Tony Schiavone, and QT Marshall got back in the ring and attacked Arn Anderson from behind with a belt, and Brock Anderson tackled QT Marshall down and started punching him in the face, and all the referees, which are Mike Posey, Rick Knox, Paul Turner, Bryce Remsburg, and Aubrey Edwards, came out to break up the fight between Brock Anderson and QT Marshall, and Arn Anderson was just standing there, and Cody Rhodes standing there for, due to the result of being hit with the belt, and Cody Rhodes is trying to intervene and everything, which that was cool. Let me see. AEW aired a video package of Kenny Omega and Don Callis talking about the three-way match for the three-way match between Kenny Omega versus Pac versus Orange Cassidy at Double or Nothing 3 for the AEW title and everything. And Don Callis was going on about how Jungle Boy being the number one contender to face Kenny Omega for the AEW title has been a conspiracy theory and everything. and Kenny Omega was talking shit about Jungle Boy as well and everything, which that was cool. The Pinnacle, which are MJF, Wardlow, Shawn Spears, Dax Harwood, Cash Wheeler, and Tully Blanchard came out and cut a promo. Well, Dax Harwood got on the microphone and was saying how the Pinnacle come up short in Stadium Stampede and said that was okay because Stadium Stampede isn't their style and everything. And he talked about how Santana and Ortiz were. He was talking about how Santana and Ortiz put up a fight against him and Cash Wheeler in the Stadium Stampede and everything. And Dax Harwood was talking about how he loved the business of professional wrestling and how he has a wife and kid to support and everything. And that was Dax Harwood that was saying that, by the way. And Cash Wheeler got on the microphone and was talking about how he didn't have a wife and kids, but he had his family in the Pinnacle, and he didn't give a shit about Santana and Ortiz and their families and everything. And then Shawn Spears got on the microphone and was talking shit about Sammy Guevara, saying that Sammy Guevara got lucky when he got the victory at Stadium Stampede and pinned him and everything. And also, Shawn Spears called Sammy Guevara a glorified indie wrestler and everything. Wardlow got on the microphone and was talking shit about Jake Hager, saying that Jake Hager was obsessed with him and everything. And Wardlow was talking about how Jake Hager challenged him in his world, in his comfort zone, which is an MMA cage fight. And Wardlow was talking shit, saying that the only reason Jake Hager challenged him to an MMA cage fight is because he couldn't beat him in his world of professional wrestling. And Wardlow was talking about how he didn't care if it was a football field, a parking lot, a wrestling ring, or an octagon. He was going to beat the shit out. He was going to kick Jake Hager's ass and everything. And Wardlow accepted Jake Hager's challenge. And MJF got on the microphone and was cutting a promo saying how he was tired because he was he was the best and he always will be. And MJF was going on about how Chris Jericho was his idol growing up and how he met Chris Jericho at the Double or Nothing 1 rally in 2019 and everything. And MJF talked about how he looked forward to teaming with Chris Jericho, facing Chris Jericho, and idolizing Chris Jericho. And then MJF was talking about how he idolized a false god and everything. And MJF also said about Chris Jericho, saying that that he realized he was idolizing a false god. And MJF also said that Chris Jericho's match request has been denied, and MJF was saying that calling Sammy Guevara chicken shit and was saying to keep his name out of his mouth and everything. And Chris Jericho appeared on the Titantron, and Chris Jericho was letting the Pinnacle know what happens when the Inner Circle get told no. Well, Sammy Guevara, Santana, and Ortiz. Well, the camera went to Sammy Guevara, Santana, and Ortiz at the Pinnacle's limo, and Sammy Guevara, Santana, and Ortiz were vandalizing the Pinnacle's limo with baseball bats, and Chris Jericho was joining in with the baseball bat to vandalize the Pinnacle's limo, and Santana spray painted the Pinnacle's limo, and Jake Hager appeared on a forklift and lifted the Pinnacle's limo with the forklift and tore it up and everything. And the Inner Circle were talking shit towards the Pinnacle. Well, the Pinnacle were getting pissed off that it was happening, and the Inner Circle were talking shit to the Pinnacle and everything. And while the Pinnacle was still in the ring, all pissed off, looking on pissed off, the Inner Circle uh, Jake Hager was already in the forklift, but Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, Santana, and Ortiz got on the forklift, and all five of the members of the Inner Circle, which are Chris Jericho, Jake Hager, Sammy Guevara, Santana, and Ortiz, gave the middle finger salute and left on the forklift and everything, which that was cool. Sting and Darby Allin cut a promo, and Darby Allin was talking about how him and Sting won against Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page at Double or Nothing 3, and Darby Allin was talking about how he wasn't going to replace Sting, and that he wants to face Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page in a handicap match, and Darby Allin was pretty much telling Sting he wanted him to stay home, and Sting was talking about how Darby Allin was the TNT champion, AEW TNT champion before he came to AEW, and how, because Darby Allin was saying that Sting won the match at AEW against Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page at Double or Nothing 3, and was saying that he needed to prove to Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page that he didn't need Sting, and Sting was putting Darby Allin over, saying how he was the AEW TNT champion before he came to AEW, and how him and Darby Allin were the ones that got the win and everything. And Darby Allin instructed Sting to stay home for one night, and Sting asked Darby Allin if that's what he wanted. And Darby Allin was telling Sting that that's what he wanted, and Sting was saying that's a deal. And Darby Allin was saying that he respected Sting, and Sting was saying that he respected Darby Allin. So Sting put out his hand, and Sting and Darby Allin done a fist bump and everything, which that was cool. Evil Uno cut a promo saying about how the late great Brody Lee was his idol and his influence in AEW, and how he was going to beat Miro and take the AEW TNT title and bring it back home to the Dark Order and everything, which that was cool. AEW aired a video package of Andrade El Idolo and announced that Jim Ross will be doing an interview with Andrade El Idolo next week on AEW Dynamite and everything, which that was cool. Tony Schiavone interviewed Kenny Omega and Don Callis, and Tony Schiavone was talking shit towards Kenny Omega and Don Callis took the microphone and was talking shit towards Tony Schiavone, saying how Tony Schiavone always buries Kenny Omega and everything, and Don Callis was talking shit about Jungle Boy, saying that he was just like his song Tarzan Boy by Baltimora, that he was a one-hit wonder and everything, and Kenny Omega was talking shit about Jungle Boy, saying how he's supposed to be putting Jungle Boy over like he's a competitor worthy of facing him for the AEW title and everything, and Kenny Omega was talking shit about Jungle Boy some more, and Jungle Boy came out, and Kenny Omega and Don Callis kept talking shit about Jungle Boy as he was out in the ring, and Jungle Boy got on the microphone and told Kenny Omega that he talked too much, and Kenny Omega started being more smart-assy, and Kenny Omega tried to attack Jungle Boy, but Jungle Boy beat the shit out of Kenny Omega, and Jungle Boy Don Callis got out of the ring, but Jungle Boy was beating the shit out of Kenny Omega, and Jungle Boy locked Kenny Omega. Jungle Boy was getting ready to lock Kenny Omega in the snare trap, but the Young Bucks, which are Matt and Nick Jackson, came out for the save, and as the Young Bucks came out, Jungle Boy retreated, and the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega stood tall in the ring while Jungle Boy was looking on and everything. That was cool. Jade Cargill and Mark Sterling cut a promo, and Mark Sterling was talking about how Jade Cargill was going to have a better income now that she's a part of his, now that she's his client, and was saying that Jade Cargill was going to be able to support her family and everything, and Jade Cargill was talking about how she was that bitch and everything, which that was cool. Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page cut a promo, and Scorpio Sky was talking about how Darby Allin was a dumbass and for jumping off buildings and setting himself on fire and everything. And Ethan Page was pretty much calling Darby Allin a dumbass because Darby Allin wouldn't wouldn't replace Sting to face them and everything. And Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page were also talking about how they were the cause of Darby Allin losing the AEW TNT title and everything. And Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page were talking about how they gave Darby Allin the opportunity to replace Sting and find a new partner, but he wouldn't do it. And Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page were talking about how they were going to beat the shit out of Darby Allin 2-on-1 and everything, which that was cool. The wingmen, the wingmen, which are Peter Avalon, Cesar Bononi, Ryan Nemeth, and J.D. Drake, cut a promo. And Ryan Nemeth was talking about how Orange Cassidy looked like a little kid, and Peter Avalon was talking about how he was going to give Orange Cassidy a makeover and everything. And Cesar Bononi was talking about how if Orange Cassidy didn't accept the makeover, he was going to break his face. And J.D. Drake was saying that he would do it too and everything, which that was cool. And Tony Schiavone interviewed Britt Baker and Rebel, and Tony Schiavone was talking about Nyla Rose towards Britt Baker and everything, and Britt Baker was talking shit about Nyla Rose, saying that she wouldn't pick on somebody her own size and was picking on a midget like Layla Hirsch and everything. And Britt Baker was talking about how the AEW Women's title made Nyla Rose, but Britt Baker herself made the AEW Women's title and everything. And Britt Baker was talking about how this was her era, that this was going to be the era of Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and everything, which that was cool. Now, besides the matches, Jim Ross, Now, besides the matches and the promos and the segments and everything, besides all that, Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur done commentary throughout the whole show. They done awesome as usual. Don Callis done guest commentary along with Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur during the match between the Death Triangle and Eddie Kingston versus the Young Bucks and Brandon Cutler. Don Callis done great on guest commentary, and Taz done guest commentary along with Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur during the match between Hangman Page and Ten versus Team Taz. Taz done great on guest commentary. Now, the referees for the event were Rick Knox, Paul Turner, Bryce Remsburg, and Aubrey Edwards. Okay. Aubrey Edwards refereed the match between Christian Cage versus Angelico. Rick Knox refereed the match between the Death Triangle and Eddie Kingston versus the Young Bucks and Brandon Cutler. Paul Turner refereed the match between Miro versus Evil Uno for the AEW TNT title. Bryce Remsburg refereed the match between Lance Archer versus Chandler Hopkins. Paul Turner refereed the match between Nyla Rose versus Layla Hirsch. And Bryce Remsburg refereed the match between Hangman Page and Ten versus Team Taz. All the referees done awesome as usual. Now, besides all that, the match card for next Friday's edition of AEW Dynamite, All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite, it's going to be Pena El Cerro Miedo, Eddie Kingston, and Frankie Kazarian versus Matt Jackson and the Good Brothers, which are Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson. Orange Cassidy versus Cesar Bononi. Darby Allin versus Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page in a 2-on-1 handicap match. Jake Hager versus Wardlow in an MMA cage fight. And Cody Rhodes and Brock Anderson versus The Factory, which are QT Marshall and Aaron Solo. Those are the matches that have been announced so far. Now, besides the matches that have been announced, Jim Ross will be interviewing Andrade El Idolo on AEW Dynamite next week. And in 2 weeks, on Saturday, June 26th, the only match that's been announced for that so far, it'll be Kenny Omega versus Jungle Boy for the AEW title. But anyway, I just wanted to come on here for a while and give them a review for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite from 2 nights ago, which was June 11th, 2021. Like I said, it was awesome from start to finish. And with that being said, my name is Austin Honecker, and I will catch your ass down the road. Peace out.